What is up, my friends? How are we? We are back for the late night agenda. As always, thank you guys for coming and giving up some of your evening to have a chat with me. We're going to have a little look back over the game earlier on. Of course, we're going to talk about Aston Villa on Wednesday. We're going to go through some of the transfer talk as well, and loads of other bits and pieces over the course of the next, well, however long we're on. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, as I said, as always, for coming in and having a chat with me. We're on the road to title number 20. And you know what? Today wasn't vintage, but it was a win. And it was a win that I'm very happy we got, because we needed to get back to winning ways. From what I can gather from lots of people who were telling me about the game, it was bitter cold there at Anfield today. I seen somebody in the chat saying it was so cold second half they had to cover their eyes. Yeah, it looked like it looked pretty cold out there, to be honest with you. And look, I think as much as we're going to talk about Liverpool perhaps not being anywhere near the level we wanted second half, we also have to remember to credit Wolves for a good ballsy second half performance, because I think they deserve plaudits for that. Cunha, I think, took his goal really well, especially on his weaker foot. And after that, we defended and we got it done. It's far easier to talk about these things and perhaps be a little bit critical of them after a win than it was, for instance, midweek when we let the points go last minute to Everton. So, loads for us to get through there tonight. I guess I'm going to have to respond to Dominic King at some point this evening as well. Because, he's been, I think, replying to one of the videos from the clips where I was calling the journalists cowards. And I will respond to that, I guess, in a while. But we've a lot to get through first. And, first and foremost, let's all just take a moment to acknowledge the great job that Ruben Amorim is doing at Manchester United, because, it'd be remiss of me not to mention the great start that he's had there to his Manchester United career. That was shocking. And do you know what else? 105 days since Spurs last won a home game in the Prem. That was nuts. I didn't know it was that long, in all honesty. But yeah, it's miserable, man. If I was a United fan right now, I'd be looking around going, what on earth? Because they even dipped their toes in the transfer market in January, brought in Dorgu as a left back. They've spent some money in the summer as well, and they've just seemingly not seemingly, they have gotten worse. Their league position is shocking. And it has to go beyond the coaches at this point, right? Because it can't just be a succession of coaching failures. It feels like there's just something dark and wrong at Manchester United, and it feels like they're going through a time where nobody can find a way out of it. Radcliffe's cutting costs left, right and centre. Managers have come and gone. Transfer money's come and gone. The stadium's starting to look old and dilapidated. It's mad. And again, they're so terrible on the pitch. It's like you don't even want to go in on them anymore. It's like kicking a puppy at this point. Yes, absolutely. Lucky the problem's not ours, 100%. I'm very grateful that the problem isn't theirs. And if there's one thing I guess I would agree with Dominic King on, and something I have given the owners credit for, is the appointment of Arne Slot. That is something that I won't argue with anybody about, and something I've been behind from day one. But we'll run through what Mr. King had to say in a while. And sincerely, I forgot he even worked as a journalist. So when I was talking about the journalist that covered the Liverpool patch, hand on heart, he was nowhere near my thought process, because I don't really see or read much of what Dominic King has to write, and not trying to run him down or not. I just wasn't thinking about him. So to see him retort in such a, I guess, triggered manner, is that the right word? I don't know. We'll go through it though. We'll go through it anyway. Right, look, what do we want to start off with tonight? Let's start off with some comments from Ibrahima Konate around interest from PSG and Real Madrid. He said, "To hear big clubs showing an interest in me is very flattering. Now I'm focused on this season, giving it my all, and I'll let my agents take care of the rest." I very much hope we get the Ibu thing sorted. Look, he had a rocky 45 there today, where I think Arne made the right decision to substitute him. And you know what? I'm going to take a positive from that today, because with Ibu being substituted, I thought that Jarell Kwanzaa came in and gave a very, very good display, and I hope that will continue to build his confidence. So, in a weird way, I actually think it was a bonus for us today that Konate went off at half-time in some weird, warped kind of way, because it allowed Kwanzaa to come in there, get the feel of the game, and put in a really good second half shift, which I hope brings him some confidence. Philip McWilliams said, Dominic King is now a racing journalist who used to cover Liverpool some years ago for the Echo. Ah, that makes sense. So it's just the Echo again, having to get other people to come in and fight their corner for them. I get it. I get it now. I didn't know that. I didn't know he used to work for the Echo, to be honest with you. But look, I'll go through that in a while. I don't want to start off the stream about it because I don't want to get angry or moany at people in there. So we'll work with it later on, though. But one thing I will take an issue with is one thing that Dominic King had to say, and I'll let you know my thoughts on that in a little bit. But for now, Ibu, what are we thinking? Do you think he gets renewed? Because surely there's no reason to not renew Ibu. You know, he's a great centre-half, formed a formidable partnership with Virgil this season. We know that the contract offers are on the table, but, you know, there's been a lot of contract offers on the tables for players over the last few months that haven't been signed. So I'm nervous about it because it's another player now that we have to keep an eye on. And we know there's going to be interest from the likes of Paris Saint-Germain and Real Madrid. Why wouldn't there be? He's a top player. But he's a Liverpool player. And he's a player that seems to be very happy at the club as well. And the fans love him. He's performing week in and week out. It just seems like another weird one from the club to allow this to drag on. Fawzi said, what do you think of our second half? I mean, there's two ways to look at it. One, we didn't come out and play anywhere near good enough in the second half, but I think that that's unfair to Wolves as well, because they came out and showed guts, determination, and that they were still playing for the manager and still fighting to stay up in the Premier League. So, you know, you can look at it two ways. But it was more nervier than it needed to be. You know, we were dominant in the first half, in my opinion, certainly playing with some swagger. And I mentioned this in the match reaction, but I feel like that moment for the JOTA penalty, you know, the one that was correctly ruled out, I felt like that was a turning point almost, because it gave Wolves the impetus to, you know, push on again and feel like nearly they've gotten away with one, if you get me. It was the right decision, but psychologically, I felt like maybe it gave Wolves a little bit of extra pep in their step. And they played very, very well, and they deserve some credit for that. But from our perspective, we never really got a hold of the game in the second half there today. And that's concerning, of course, because there are bigger tests to come this week, you know, away to Villa and then Manchester City. It's going to be two tough games. Craig, can I teach you how to play FIFA on the PlayStation or Xbox? I'm going to politely decline, if that's all right, my man. I'm not a big gamer, so I don't really have the time for it. I feel like if I started getting into it or something, I'd just neglect my work and the channel, and I'd end up just getting mad into it and just going over the top. That's kind of the way my personality is. City will want to make a point next Sunday, said Barry. We better show up. Absolutely, Barry. For me, getting the points today and hopefully trying to get the points to Villa Park gives us, I don't want to say a free hit going to the Etihad, but in my mind, when the fixtures come out every year, and I can only speak for me, you look through them and you're thinking, okay, and City's one I'm always, I don't say happy with a draw, but it's a result that in my mind, I think going away to the Etihad and getting a point, you're not too displeased about that. So for me, if we can get 3 points on Wednesday, it takes a lot of pressure off us, because it gives us a bit more wiggle room then going into that game. And then, of course, that's going to be backed up by the midweek game against Newcastle then coming after that, which is another big game for us. I guess it's going to come down to team selections as well here from Arna. Is he going to rotate much coming up midweek against Villa? I don't know, in all honesty. I want to have a conversation around right back as well tonight if I can. I want to know what you guys would be looking to do there with regards to Trent or Bradley going to Villa Park. I'm getting to the point now where I'm concerned that maybe the whole contract situation is getting into Trent's mind a little bit, because we've not seen the calibre of performance we know Trent's capable of for a few weeks now, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm never going to be one to say the man's down in tools, because I don't think he is, but I think he's a human, and that these things would play on his mind. Especially if, you know, maybe Trent's reading a lot of stuff that say from people like me or whatever, come out and say you want to stay or whatever. But if he's been lowballed with a contract he feels is nowhere near the level he wants, he might feel like the club are almost trying to make him the scapegoat. So there's so much in the Trent situation that I do wish, for his own sake, we could get some clarity on it. Whether it's the long goodbye and we, build towards him leaving, or whether it's a new contract and we celebrate him staying. I think some clarity in that situation would benefit everybody. Abhishek, your best five-a-side team of all time with a goalkeeper. I mean, I tried to do this before, just for Liverpool ones, and I still couldn't get everybody I wanted in. So, I'm probably going to have Pepe Reina in goal, because, remember, five-a-side, so I want a smaller keeper, equally good with the ball at his feet, so I'd go Reina in goal. I'm not saying he's a better keeper than Alisson, he's not. So, Reina, then I'd have Van Dijk, probably Trent, then Alonso, Gerrard and Suarez, probably, but again, you could name another 5 players there that would be equally as good a shout, and I'd be able to sit here and go, yeah, because, whittling it down to 5 is tough, man. It's tough, especially when we've been spoiled with so many great footballers in a Liverpool shirt over the years. Naturalist said, what do you think of the rumour that Trent has a physical fitness issue? Maybe that's why he's not playing well. Could be. Yeah, look, again, if he does, understandable that the levels would have dropped off a little bit. We do know that Trent was carrying something that he, meant he had to leave the game a few weeks ago. It didn't get to the stage where anything tore or ripped, but, he felt a twinge or something, so we went on the side of caution, took him off, missed the next game or so. He's come back in now recently. I'm just concerned as a fan about both fullback positions, in all honesty. I think they are weak areas for us. And I still don't know how Sky gave Robbo man of the match today. I've read lots of different player ratings on different pages and stuff, and again, it seems to be just Sky that felt Robbo was deserving of that man of the match. I thought he was nowhere near as good as he has been in even the last couple of weeks, to be honest. I didn't like that performance much from Robbo at all today. Adele said, I want to win at City. We haven't won in a long time. Oh, dude, don't get me wrong. Like your good self, mate. I want us to win as well. Of course, I want us to go and beat them. And we don't know how that game against Madrid's going to go for them midweek as well. So if you travel over to the Bernabeu, they're already going there a goal down. So they have to try and come back from that. And physically and mentally, that game's going to take its toll. Then they have to turn around, come back to play us. Now, of course, we're away as well Wednesday, but it's in Birmingham and not Madrid. So shorter turnaround, shorter travelling and all that stuff. So yeah, you're right. We could absolutely make a good argument to go there to try and get a win. But let's not look past Aston Villa, because that is not going to be an easy game either. JJR, welcome to Anfield Agenda FC, my friend. Appreciate you. So look, I'm going to give it about 10 minutes and then I'm going to go into this Dominic King thing, because I want to get it out of the way so I don't have to talk about it or deal with him anymore. If you don't know what I'm on about, on our X account, Connor put up on Friday, I think it was. I love the way people like Dominic King reply to me on there like I'm posting, and I don't run any of our socials, but I made the video, so I guess replying to me is understandable. So we put out a video the other day that was basically me calling the journalists that cover the Liverpool patch cowards, and I don't regret one word of it. In fact, I thought that was me biting my tongue, but I'm going to go through that in a little while. If you want to follow it yourself, the thread's there on X. He's 2 days late though. I mean, he's only replying to it there today. That went out on Friday. Come on now. Supposed to be a journalist, supposed to be on top of things. So, Diaz, I said to you guys earlier on that it wasn't just Barcelona that have been linked and mentioned with a move for Diaz. It now looks like there's a couple of options in Saudi Arabia as well that are interested. Al Nassr and Al Hilal have been names that have been thrown around here by Facajes, I think it is, over in Spain, to mention as another potential alternative there for Diaz. Just as a football fan, I'd hate to see Diaz at 28 go to Saudi. I just would. I think he's too good to go over there. And for what it's worth, I thought he was brilliant today. Brilliant. Like, him and Dom, to me, were the best two players in the Liverpool shirt out there. I thought taking him off weakened us there today. I thought he was really, really good. Looked so much more comfortable on the left-hand side for me. Yeah. But with Cody Gakpo still having a knock that, hasn't ruled him out, but he's still a doubt now for Wednesday, confirmed by Arne Slot. I guess you had to look after him and wrap him up. And if I'm not mistaken, was it 2-0 when he went off or 2-1? Forgive me, but I can't remember at that point. Charlie said, fan of Hungary here, how was Dom? I thought he was brilliant, mate. Probably the only Liverpool midfielder there in the second half that really tried to stand up to the physicality and effort that Wolves were putting in. I think Dominic Szoboszlai can be very happy with his work today. His layoff for the Diogo Jota penalty that was overturned, his layoff into midfield to Ryan Gravenberch was simply sensational. I was a fan of Dom today, and I think he's starting to really show the promise and deliver on what we knew he was capable of. Hope Diaz is okay. He looked a little bit troubled after he scored. Like he got a knock going down. I very much hope he didn't. God, well, there's been no mention of it anyway, of a knock or anything like that. So, yeah, fingers crossed. So Fabrizio Romano has said this about the Trent situation in Real Madrid. He said, the situation has not changed. Real Madrid consider Trent Alexander-Arnold their top target this summer. Position number 1, number 2, and number 3 on the shortlist for fullbacks and defenders. So, they still want Trent. I don't know what else to say in it at this point, We're all fed up talking about it. I'm sure Trent's fed up hearing about it. It's just the situation that for me, all of it, the whole contract situations, I don't understand how we're still here. And I apologise that I continuously repeat that line, but I don't know how else to summarise it. 600 subscribers now to go to 300k. So right, look, I want to get this out of the way because it's playing in my mind. I got to respond to this Dominic King stuff. So underneath the video, he wrote things like, I shouldn't reply to this, but you know what, I will. Cowards. So when the fiasco over the £77 tickets, the Super League and the disgrace of Furlough happened, who wrote about it and highlighted the mistakes? That's right, all the people who say you're in FSG's pocket. Well, let's start with that bit, Dom, shall we? Firstly, the people that brought down the Super League, Dominic, are absolutely the fans and in no way you journalists. And you didn't write strongly enough about it at all, even if you did cover it. And the £77 furlough thing, you mean you came in after Spirit of Shankly stood up. So patting yourself on the back for that, mate, is quite pathetic, to be honest with you. But let's get to the final part of this, Dominic, because I don't know who you think you're intimidating, bro. You say, finally, don't ever call me a coward or any of my colleagues and think you'll get away with it without a reply. You've got a cheek sitting there and saying the stuff you've just done. Well then, Dominic, don't be a coward. It's that simple. I don't know if you think that's going to intimidate me, Dominic, but quite frankly, I forgot you existed as a journalist, and you replying to me doesn't mean anything to me, Dominic, because I'd rather you guys did your damn job and grew a backbone. So, have I touched the nerve, Dominic? Because I think I might have. Is the truth really eating away at you? Is that it? Like, be honest about it. I don't care what you, The Echo, Lynch, or anybody else thinks about me, because in my opinion, you're doing every football fan you cover a disservice. In my opinion, you and everybody else that hasn't got the backbone to call out FSG for the cheapskating and the way they've run this club are part of the problem. So you feel free to say what you like about me, Dominic, online, write about me, cry arse about me, whatever you want. But I promise you this, every single one of you know I'm right. Every Liverpool fan in the comments knows I'm right. And the fact that you're replying to me in such an aggravated, cry arson manner makes me know I'm right. So Dominic, when you put your head down on your pillow tonight, ask yourself, does the man have a point? You don't have to like me. You don't have to fully agree with me. But you know I'm right. The Liverpool fan in these guys knows I'm right. So Do what you need to do, Dominic. But don't think you're going to intimidate me with your stupid little don't call me a coward and think I won't get a reply. I don't give a damn what you say, Dominic. I don't need your pat on the back for a job well done. I don't need you to come and tell me attaboy. I don't think about you from one end of the day to the next. And in fact, like I mentioned, Dominic, when I was calling out these journalists, you know, your fellow backboneless people, your fellow spineless journalism, I wasn't even thinking of you because I forgot you existed. I didn't even know you still covered football, Dominic. So, excuse me when I say this, but I wasn't even talking about you. But I get it. All of you guys have to stick together and call the rest of us out because nobody else is going to stick up for you. I get it. I get it. Give yourselves all a pat on the back, Dom. Stand up for each other and pretend like you're doing a good job as journalists. But the fact of the matter is, your platforms are dying, your readerships are dying, fan channels are absolutely flying away with it because, and I can't say this clearly enough, Dominic, we don't have to bow down to FSG because we can call them out for their cheapness without having to fear about it. And the beauty of that, Dominic, is I built my platform from the ground up. I didn't have somebody telling me what I could and couldn't write. I built my platform, my following from honesty and telling it like I see it. And if you don't like that, Dominic, tough shit. Do something about it or shut up. Because either way, mate, I don't care. You and those other cowards that cover this football club as journalists need to grow a pair. Because you're not doing the fans a proper service. You know I'm right. Now stop cry arsing in the comments. And if you want to do something about it, do it. Other words, Dominic, shut up. Because I've got work to do. And I've got people to interact with that I actually have time for. So you, all the boys at the Echo, Lynch and everybody else that just blow smoke up the owner's arse, continue to do it and enjoy your careers fading away. I hope I've made myself clear. So do what you like, Dom. But don't come on thinking you're going to intimidate me with your, don't think you're not going to get a reply. I don't give a fuck about any of you. Every single one of you are cowards in my opinion. I hope I've made that clear. Anyway, my apologies. I'm done with them all. Do you know what I mean? I'm fed up with them. They want jam on both sides of their bread. They want to be told how great they are. They want people to pay to read the crap that they write. And then they don't have the stomach to actually call it out. And the reason that Dominic and his fellow journalists are so fucking touchy is because they know we're right. They know fans see through it. And look at the replies and you'll see I don't have to do anything. And as I mentioned, he's cry-arsing about it and I forgot he existed. I was thinking about the Echo boys and a few others who I think are absolutely up the owner's backsides. But, man, that's just... You've shit the bed there, Dominic. You've shit the bed, mate. You should have just said nothing. Because now I know I'm in your head. Just gonna have fun with it now, bro. Because, as I said, all you other clowns out there that said, oh, ignore him, Dom. He's an incel. Ignore him, Dom. He shouldn't have the platform he has. Yeah, but I do. And I have it, and I wasn't fucking given it. I earned it. Through years of hard work, years of honesty, years of research, years of being here night after night, saying stuff when nobody else was, calling out shit that nobody else had the backbone to do it. And I don't want an attaboy and a pat on the back for it, but I'm not having any of you cowards undermining me either. So you do what you do and enjoy your life, but stay the fuck out of my way. Anywho, I found something really interesting on Sky earlier on. Gary Neville was talking about the wages to revenue ratio. Sorry, I've got to get back into football here now. I didn't even want to discuss this, to be honest with you. But I'm just fed up with them all thinking that their shit doesn't stink. Or that... You intimidate nobody. I don't know who you think you're intimidating with your... Don't think you won't get a reply from me. I don't give a fuck, Dom. You're irrelevant to me. So, Neville talking about wages to revenue ratio. This is really interesting because if you look at it from a business perspective, Daniel Levy is pulling a blinder. The wages to revenue ratio, so the percentages, remember, if I'm right on this now, I apologise if I'm wrong, I think FIFA wanted somewhere between 65 and 80% revenue to wages ratio. And Spurs are at 42%. 42% of Spurs wages get spent, 42% of Spurs revenue gets spent on wages. That's significantly lower than some other teams. So just to give you a rundown of the teams, Tottenham Hotspur spend 42% of their revenue on wages. Arsenal spend 53%, which is really good as well, to be fair to Arsenal. Manchester United spend 56% of their wages on, their revenue on wages. Manchester City 57%, although, West Ham 58%. Liverpool, we spend 63% of our revenue on wages, according to the Deloitte Football Money League figures. Newcastle spend 68% of their revenue on wages. Chelsea 72%, and this one's actually, if I was a Villa fan, I'd be worried. Aston Villa spend 96% of their wages, of their revenue on wages. 96%. That is not a great figure. As I mentioned, you want to be in and around the 60 to 70. That's healthy. Spurs are really good. Arsenal are really good. Hell, even United there are really good. But 96% of your revenue gone out on wages. That's nuts. That's a lot. And then if you look at that across transfer spending, which, they've also put up here on Sky Sports, which, again, fair play. I think it's some good information. So, Manchester United have spent £1.09 billion since 2019 on transfers. They have received 285 and have a net spend of £810 million. So these are transfer spending since the summer of 2019. United's net spend £810 million. Chelsea's net spend £739 million. Spurs' net spend £576 million. Arsenal's £563 million. Newcastle's £409 million. West Ham £360 million. Aston Villa £334 million. Forest £265 million. Manchester City £258 million. And there's Liverpool, £212 million net. But don't worry, Dominic King and all the journalists think that's great and don't have anything to worry about. Not right, Dom, me old mucker. We don't need to be worrying. Sure, FSG have it all in hand, don't they? But you covered the £77 tickets, Dom, so you're the real hero here, bro. That's shocking. Look at the difference there. 600 million net less spent than Manchester United since 2019. But you have to say the money we've spent has been far better spent. Even though it's a lot less, it's certainly done far more. So you got to give credit for the money we did spend. They've spent it well. Just hasn't been enough of it. Like, to see Chelsea have spent, now they've recouped a good bit of this back, but they've spent £1.6 billion sterling on transfers since 2019. Now they've recouped back 863 million, but that is a lot of change, a lot of money. Wow. Wow. Mark says, stop it, Craig. I used to like you, my friend, and 300k followers don't like your negativity. Then don't watch. I'm responding to a journalist that responded to something I put up, and if you don't like it, that's okay. You don't have to like it, Mark. But I'm not happy with the spending from the owners. And at moments like this in the season, where we're already running thin on the bench now with options that the manager wants to utilise, I think I've become justified in this. And you're right about me sometimes being negative. That's very fair. But I feel I have a reason to. And I feel like if I didn't, who else is going to say it? Sincerely, mate. Who else is going to say it or be negative? You think I'm wrong about the owners and the spending? That's okay. I've no problem with that. But I'm not negative, mate, for the sake of it. And I'm negative tonight because I'm responding to something somebody said. But as I said, I respect your opinion. I just feel like I need to be honest to myself and speak what I need to speak. And I need to call out the owners in my eyes because I'm not happy with their spending. If that makes me negative, so be it. I guess I'm a negative person. Fritz Frank, thank you, bro. Appreciate you. Johnny said, the majority of us agree with you, Craig. Even when we win, you feel the players haven't the tools to defend what they've won, sidestepping owners. Well, look, I tried to make this point earlier on. Look at our bench today in the game, right? So, Arne Slot looked to his bench and made the changes he made. But you didn't see Elliott on once again. You didn't see Chiesa get a look in. And Endo's coming on to be a closer. And I love that role for him. But there are spaces on that squad bench that need to be filled. And we can improve on. And I think we're not being honest with ourselves if we say or pretend that everybody's absolutely happy. And that's before we get into the owners, Hughes and Edwards, allowing the situation with the contracts to fester right throughout the season. Now we're at the business end of the season, where we've built up a healthy lead. We're trying to make sure we get over the line. And now we have performances like Trent's again today, where people don't know if the contracts are in his head. You have Mohamed Salah coming out and talking about the fact that the contract situation was in his own mind. I just don't see any good in this. The club have messed up massively here. And to not call that out, to not say it, I think you're just emboldening them. And FSG, in my humble opinion, man, have got away with this way too long. They've got away with keeping people on side. People like journalists who have the ability to steer a narrative. And those journalists, in my opinion, have only ever been pro-FSG. And I'm not asking them to come in and rinse the owners. But you can't defend the indefensible. You can't have 2 transfer windows again where we've done nothing. You can't save the money we saved and then not even reinvest it into deals. Every single one of these journalists wrote about the inbox for Richard Hughes when he started. Go back and read an article from any one of them you want. Every single one of them wrote about number 1 in the inbox, first thing to do, biggest preference, priority, was to make sure the contracts were sorted. I didn't write that. You didn't write that. These brave heroes of journalists wrote that. And here we are, February, and not one of them has been done. Not one. How am I supposed to be happy about that as a fan? Because the whole season has the ability to be undermined. And what we don't want as Liverpool fans is to win a title and to then disappear and to fall back down to 3rd or 4th again because we lose some players. I think that's foolish. But that's just my opinion. You say what you feel, bro. Love you. I'm being honest about it. And I tried to differentiate with the journalists and say I'm not talking about the likes of a Miguel Delaney here or anybody else. I'm speaking about the ones that just cover the Liverpool patch. That's their sole gig. I feel like it's an unhealthy relationship that the club has with media because there's no room for a dissenting voice. And like I've said many times, no other walk of life is this allowed. You know, politicians aren't allowed to just ignore journalists. They have to be asked tough questions. You know, they might want to answer them all the time, and yes, they'd certainly steer narratives and bend the truth, but they get asked the questions. We sit back week after week and see press conferences where nobody's grilled, nobody's asked difficult questions, and everybody has the carrot of the access dangled over their head, and has worked for the club at some point, or maybe want to work for the club at some point. Every single part of that is true. I'm sorry, it is. And to just again get touchy about it, it's not answering anything. It's again just proving our point. And it really irks me, that thing about the Super League. The fans got rid of the Super League. Fan power got rid of it. Not journalists. Fan power. If you were any good as a journalist, you should have had wind of it happening. Where were all your sources then? When the Super League was about to be thrown out there and we were all told it was happening. Where were you then? Don't remember one of you having an exclusive on it. So if you don't like it, tough shit. Be better. Ryan, thank you, my friend. Nessie, how much percentage, which to blame, lack of spending versus type of player we want? Thoughts? Look, I can understand the club or any manager having priority targets. And you can't always get them. So, Zubamendi as an example in the summer. I've no doubt Richard Hughes tried really hard to get Zubamendi in. And I've no doubt maybe he felt like he was going to be able to get it over the line. But he wasn't. And that's okay. But that's been a continuation, right? Even though it hasn't been Richard Hughes and Edwards. The Caicedo fiasco was embarrassing for the football club. The Lavia situation was embarrassing for the football club. So I think it's gonna... We've probably procrastinated a little bit too much, Nessie, over targets at times. And maybe tried to be a bit too clever. That's my honest opinion of it, you know? So which one it is, I don't know. It's probably a bit of both. Craig, the squad has a strong 14 or 15 max. I agree with that, mate. I agree with that. So, if we're looking at the squad, it's difficult because there are young players in there like James McConnell who we don't know how that's going to go. You know, he's been very good, James McConnell, by the way, and I'm not meaning to single out young James McConnell, but there are always going to be some young players in and around the squad, and that's fair. You don't want that pathway blocked, and I actually agree entirely with Ernest Slot about, you know, the full 23-man matchday squad, you know, being able to bring those younger players there, have them on the bench, and I think it'd be a good idea. So I agree with him on that, and I think it would help as well, you know, because you never know what way a game's going to go, and if you've got 3 youngsters there on the bench and you're 4-0 up, maybe you get to give them a bonus 15, 20 minutes you didn't think you might be able to give them. So, and I think it would help with player welfare as well. And I also do agree, I think we are at that 14, 15 players, and we don't need to be. You know, I know it's difficult when we've fallen in love with players over the years and we have bonds with them, and to talk about, like, does this sound familiar to any of you guys? To say anything critical of Andy Robertson hurts me because I love him and he has been an incredible servant to our football club and he leaves it all on the pitch and he is a damn good human being as well. So, but we can't acknowledge that we can't improve at left back, as an example. We can't acknowledge, or can't not acknowledge, excuse me, that we aren't light at centre back. So Gomez is out now, and we're left with 3. And Endo, who, let's be honest, was never brought in to be a centre back, but can play in that position and has done for club and country before. But I don't want filler. I want to make sure that if we're going to take these competitions seriously, then we're able to do it. And to go out there and rotate as much as we did against Plymouth and lose and not back that up with a win against Everton, it feels like the whole exercise was undermined then. You know, the whole sacrifice to play the young players or the change squad against Plymouth was undermined when we didn't back that up with a win. In what was, now, to be fair, always going to be a very difficult evening at Goodison. Marcus said, and Konate is now speaking about his future and how he's appreciated that Real Madrid and PSG are interested. There's so much unnecessary noise around the players. Sorry for the bad English. Mate, please don't apologise. I appreciate your input. Yeah, so look, I remember an interview with Ibrahima Konate, I want to say a couple of weeks ago, maybe it was a bit longer, and somebody asked him, is it true that you've been given a contract offer by the club? And he said yes. And then I think the next question was something along the lines of, are you going to be signing it? And he said, that's another matter entirely. So this line about the contract offers have gone out, and to be fair, Dominic even tried to have a pop at me with that, saying, do you think the players haven't got contract offers? I never once said they haven't. I feel like they've got lowball offers that, although the journalists keep writing, are on the table. Well, that's like me saying, who wants to come and work for me? The offer's £100 a week. But Craig, my mortgage is £1,500 a month. Sorry, the offer's on the table. You know, it means nothing if it's not a contract that anyone's going to sign. And the players have not signed these deals. So any offers that have been put to them are clearly below what their expectations are. And for some of them with Virgil and Mo, okay, the age factor plays into it. But there's no reason not to get Ibrahima Konate tied up to a new deal. None whatsoever. And however you look at it, there's no reason that a football club that prides itself on making every penny count has the possibility of losing Trent on a free transfer. A player that conservatively is probably worth £85 million could walk out the door for free, and there's nothing we can do about it. And I'm supposed to, again, be grateful as a fan that the club have dealt with this the right way. They've absolutely messed up. And I don't see how you can't call that out. Heavy Metal D. I didn't realise that shirt helped you that much. Hope to put a smile on your face. I had a hard 2 weeks, so that made my day. It was brilliant, bro. Thank you. It really did give me a smile. Because I don't understand where some of the negativity has come in the comments. And I don't mean towards me, by the way, when I talk about that. I mean just in general. There's been a lot of negativity towards players in games and stuff that I don't get. So, yeah, man, I'm definitely put a smile on my face. Thank you. Some players look tired. We need to start using the squad as we were told in January. The club was happy with the squad. A reason not to strengthen. Exactly. But one thing I want to make sure people understand is what you hear from a football club is not the truth all the time. Because they can't be truthful. So don't expect them to be. So Arne Slot or the club can't come out and say, none of this is good enough. We need more. Because that's undermining his team and his players. The club have to put out an air of positivity and be upbeat. That's completely understandable. But we don't have to believe everything. Because you can use your own judgment on it. And in no way, shape or form do I think any manager will look at our squad and not have 3, 4, 5 changes that they would make in the market. You know, Chiesa, he hasn't played all season. He's played 2 games for us, 2 meaningless games that we lost both of. Now that's not to say Federico Chiesa isn't a good footballer, but it also doesn't take 9 months to get a player fit. So clearly the manager doesn't like the idea of Chiesa being in and around the team. You can argue back if you'd like, but that's my take on it. Harvey Elliott was injured at the start of the season at a pivotal time where he probably could have got some minutes, and has never really seemed to regain the manager's trust since, and has never been somebody the manager looks to bring on to change things. That's my take on that. With Toro Endo, it's very clear the manager doesn't rate him as a midfielder that he can start, and if you don't think so, well, simple answer is, how many games has he started ahead of Gravenberch this season, or to rotate in for Gravenberch? None. So that's 3 immediately. Then you've got the goalkeeping department, where we know we've got a goalkeeper coming in, but we don't know what's going to happen with Alisson Becker, although there are now stories linking him with a move away, and some journalists writing that Liverpool are open to considering offers. We have Kelleher, who the club have allowed get down to 1 year to go on his deal, and again will not realise the full value of the player. And then we can go back over the players who've left the football club in recent years for nothing. None of that makes sense to a football fan who says, well, our club need to make every penny count. Then stop letting players walk out the door for free. Stop letting situations like Trent's contract happen. Stop letting Kelleher get down to 1 year to go before looking to cash in on him. These are all things that I think most people would agree with. So do I ham it up at times and am I emotionally led? Yeah, because I care. And my answer to this is simple. I would say if you surveyed 100,000 Liverpool fans and asked them about journalists and coverage of the club, most of them would agree with me that there is no dissenting questions or voices. And I get that people get tetchy about that, but tough. Be better. Keith said, then we say anything we're wrong. Yeah, how many times have you seen either Doyle or Gorst write to disparage fellow Liverpool fans? How many times? How many times have you seen quotes from them that is match-going fans this, and the rest of you, well, you don't count because you're not match-going fans. So, you don't understand. Or another beauty was they want to be like Chelsea and Manchester City fans. Loads of transfers. No, asshole. That's not what we want. We want the middle ground where we do the same as other clubs. Not the extremity. We don't want to go all the way to be Chelsea spending 1.6 billion, but it would be nice to show a bit of ambition and, I don't know, sort out the midfield position that's been there for 3.5 years nearly. Or 3.5 windows anyway. How do they not see that? So, like I've said all the way through, when we win the league title this year, it will be in spite of the owners, not because of them. And yes, they get credit for bringing in the manager. And they did a great job in bringing in Jurgen Klopp. But I feel there was trophies left on the table in the Klopp era. And I feel they haven't given Arne Slot the best chance to try and win everything this year. So I feel we're overachieving and the manager's overachieving. And that's covering up the deficiencies of the owners. So as a fan, you've got this internal dialogue and battle where you're really happy that your team's top of the league. But you're also really nervous because there's so many things that could very quickly make it go south. Whether it's a repeat of injuries like last season or whether it's players leaving on frees that we can't agree deals with. It's all concerning and all undermines the joy of the season we're having. Exotic Alpha said, at the top of your head, what positions do you think we'll target in the summer? So, without trying to give you a cop-out answer, I find it really hard to answer those questions honestly because I don't know if I have to talk about replacing Virgil or Mohamed or Trent. And I think even if we had a squad that we were happy with and felt like we didn't need any additions, losing any of them, especially in the short term, Mo and Virgil, they're irreplaceable in my mind. I don't think we could go out into the market now, even with an unlimited budget, and find the replacements that are going to deliver what they've delivered and the consistency of performance that they're delivering. I don't think those players exist. So I'm petrified as a Liverpool fan. I'm petrified that this is a one-off again, that Virgil and Mo might leave, that Trent might leave. Why is it always so difficult for us? We've seen in the last few weeks, Chris Wood for Nottingham Forest, new deal. 3 deals at Bayern Munich. Neuer, Kimmich, Neuer, Musiala, and I can't remember who the third one was. Another contract renewal. Apologies if it's lost me. United got Diallo done. Manchester City, 9.5-year deal for Haaland. New deal for Pep. Went out and spent 160 million. And we keep getting called greedy for just asking for parity with other clubs. Alphonso Davies, thank you. Yes, thank you, folks. Alphonso Davies. So yeah, other clubs can get these done. Why can't we? Is that not genuinely, journalists, is that not a fucking fair question? Why is everything with us a ball ache? Mikhail said, Craig, who do you realistically think will replace Núñez with? The delusional part of me is starting to feel like maybe we'll get Isak, but I'm acknowledging that I'm calling myself delusional for thinking that. But I can't see many other fits. Like Marmoush I would have had in a heartbeat, but he's gone to Manchester City. Gyökeres, there's too many questions there for me. Just not the right one. So if it's not Isak, my knowledge of football isn't good enough to be able to roll off 2 or 3 more names there to you because I don't know who they are. Because if you look around world football now, it doesn't feel like it's a time where it's exploding with unbelievable strikers. So you've got Haaland, obviously. You've got Harry Kane, but they ain't going anywhere. Isak's probably... And maybe Cunha. You know, somebody said something to me, and I want to credit this person, but I can't remember who exactly it was, so I apologise. Somebody said Cunha could do the Firmino role. And I seen today why they were right. And that finish on his, if I'm not mistaken, on his bad foot was incredible from Cunha today. That was a very, very good finish. He passed the ball in almost, curling it past Alisson. So there's options there. I think his release clause is, I want to say about 62 to 67 million, somewhere about that. And they're two options, you know. And Cunha certainly is an achievable option financially. You'd almost get your money back for Darwin and you could buy Cunha. You know what? I want to ask you guys who you think, who would you like. So let me just ask. I'm going to give me one more name. Sesko, Isak, Cunha. Give me one more forward name. João Pedro is just so far away from being good enough. Semenyo's a wide player. Great shout. Delap. I like that. That's a curveball. Let's go with Delap. That's a curveball. I like that. So hang on one sec. Oh, hang on, actually. I'm going to go Jonathan David because he's John W. Henry's favourite word. Free. And one more. So, I've put 4 up there. Who do you think we will sign? Not who do you want. Who do you think we sign in the summer? So, yeah. Sesko, Isak, Jonathan David or Cunha. And any other shouts, feel free to throw them into the chat as well. If we're looking at wide players, then you're coming into the Mbeumo conversation. Semenyo, you know, they're players that I think would have credibility to them being linked as well. I didn't put Delap in the end because I thought the Jonathan David angle on a free is one, because he has been linked to us in a good few articles. I don't know how strong, if any, that link is, but I think, yeah. Delap is an interesting one. I have to say, the more I've watched them, the more impressed I've been with them, but it's a tough read to go from Ipswich up to trying to win the European Cup. Isak just feels like the best fit. So for me, priority would be Isak if it's possible. I don't know if it is. And then after that, I'd be looking for your Cunhas, your Bonifaces, you know, whomever else. See, I agree with this. Leo said the talent pool of strikers now is bad. I agree with that. I just think it's a time in world football where there isn't a whole load of new young number 9s there. You've got your Lewandowskis, your Harry Kanes, you know, and as I mentioned, they're at one end of their career. Then you've got your Benzemas again at that end of the career. Your young player be Haaland, but he's wrapped up for 9.5 years. A bit of an update. So Dave C. Kopp has posted that Arne Slot has admitted that Cody Gakpo remains a doubt to face Aston Villa on Wednesday. It's under debate. It is fast. Wednesday already, so let's wait and see. It wasn't a soft knock, which is understandable, you know. I'd say you could probably go with Diaz again and then hopefully have Cody available for the Etihad, but best not to take a chance. It was such a big week as well that's in it. So if Arne doesn't feel that Cody's 100%, I can totally understand him maybe giving him that bit longer. And Diaz played very well today and didn't play out the full game as well. So you would imagine that was in the manager's thought process. Gaz Nooner said, Delap ex-Man City would thrive at the service at Liverpool. So Gaz, I'm not sure if you heard me say this a while ago, mate, but I was somebody who, when I initially seen somebody say to me, Delap, I was arrogant and dismissive. Go, Ipswich, nah. But then I took the time to watch him, to read some scouting reports, and to start to understand his journey a bit more. And I have to say, I do think he's on a trajectory to bigger and better things. I just don't know if there needs to be some more time before we'd make a play. But I can see it totally. Like his finish the other day against Villa as well. I thought that was a lovely finish. Probably a goal he'd no right to score. Anthony scored again tonight for Betis. Oh days, that's hilarious, isn't it? Do you know some players though just suit certain leagues, don't they? And maybe La Liga suits Anthony. I don't know. Just does make you chuckle though with how much United paid for him and how bad it's been. Scouts Gamer said, Mateus Tell if we don't get Isak. So, look, I've only had a short window to look at Tell. I don't watch much Bundesliga, but what I seen of Tell today for Spurs against United, I thought he was extremely dodgy. I know he's young, by the way, as well, so I'm certainly not trying to write him off, but I would need more from Tell before I'd be considering him, you know. The small sample size I've had, and it is a small one, you know, I'm not convinced. I know Spurs have the £60 million option as well there. What do you think of Victor Osimhen? I just don't think he's the right fit for us. Yeah, I've never been convinced by Osimhen. Never. I just don't know if he'll ever be truly prolific in the Premier League. But I get the feeling we'll find out someday. I do think he'll end up in England at some point. Bangs at Chelsea, to me. By the way, folks, how exciting is it that we're closing in? Because this isn't just a me thing, it's a community win. Look how close we're getting to 300,000. For us, our community, man. I know a lot of you guys have been around with us for 5, 6, 7 years. Back to the Barcelona streams and the Villa 7-2s and, you know, the fake brick backwork upstairs in the bedroom with some of the cartoon pictures. And I just want to sincerely say I'm incredibly lucky to have you all in my life, and I'm incredibly grateful for the support you continue to give us. Who would have thunk it, you know? 300,000 subscribers nearly. You are amazing people, and I owe you the world. Thank you for being with us, and thank you for sharing this journey with us, and thank you for your support. Honestly, how on earth did this happen? You know, I don't get it, but my God, what a journey it's been to get here. And I want to just say thank you all again, because 300,000 is something that I don't deserve, quite frankly. So thank you. Mario said, as a Celtic/Liverpool fan, I think a player like Maeda would fit in at Liverpool. He's a winger, striker in his prime, runs everywhere, and he's scoring for fun. So I've learned my lesson to be dismissive of Celtic players, because I remember my mate Jimbo, shout out Jimbo if you're watching, was a Celtic fan, a lifelong die-hard Celtic fan. And I remember him saying to me about Virgil van Dijk when he was banging in free kicks and, you know, playing amazingly well up in Celtic Park. You see, Liverpool should look at this guy. And my arrogance went, it's too big. It's too big to come from Celtic down. Then, of course, he went to Southampton for, I think it was 12 million or something, if my memory's right. And is now the best defender in the world. So, yeah, I've learned my lesson about being dismissive of players coming down from the FPL. Adele said, Craig, you deserve all of it. I don't. There are people I feel far more deserving in this world of some success than me. But what I will say is, I don't think you find many people who are as grateful for it as I am, or who wake up every day and feel like they need to work better to make people proud. And that's one thing I'll never do, is I'll never cower away. I'll never not say what I think needs to be said, and I'll never always put you guys and what I think you'd want me to do at the forefront of my thoughts. I love you all to bits, and I'm not ashamed to say it. You're a huge part of my family's life and my life. Sorry, I want to just catch up on some of these comments I've missed. Sorry for people I've missed these comments on. Matt, how are you, bro? So Matt said, even though we'll win the league, there's no doubt it could have been easier had FSG not been cheap SOBs. No excuses in the summer. Much love, Craig. My thoughts exactly, Matt. You know, we will win the league. I fully believe that we will, mate. But like you've said, I don't think we've done it the easy way or helped ourselves as much as we could. Cal said, Craig, we find these owners exhausting, so imagine how Jurgen felt. Literally nothing questioned by the media on why we lost one of the greatest managers ever. Love Slot, but we were robbed of Jurgen. So look, you know, we may never know if there was any other reasoning for Jurgen leaving. I do truly believe the exhaustion part of it and the energy levels. I mean, I think we can all understand the man lived and breathed the job every day. But I'll go to my grave feeling like he felt like he was banging his head against a brick wall sometimes over the owners and the finances. You know, that's just my take. You know, Jurgen's his own man. City have 17 million buyback on the lap, so probably not. I mean, to be honest with you, if they... I don't understand why they haven't triggered that then. But also, you got to remember, just because they have an option to buy back doesn't mean the player has to agree to it. So, you know, I don't know what's going to happen with Manchester City over the next few months with the charges and whatnot. But, you know, if you're Delap and you're looking at Man City and you see that Haaland's there and they've brought in Marmoush, would you be in any rush to run back there? Because you're going to see limited game time most likely. So, you know, there has to be two sides to it. The player has to want to go back as well. Mohammed, how are you, bro? Said, popped into the United stand today. Can you believe they're crying about the owners? Don't give them enough money. They want more. We should be crying. Well, you know what? I think the best way, Mohammed, that I can respond to your comment there is by going back to these numbers earlier on about transfer spending. So, again, to any United fan that feels like they should have more money, you know what? They probably should, but not for the reasons that maybe you think. The way that the Glazers have ran that club and the money that's been going to service debt isn't good enough. The waste at Manchester United hasn't been good enough, but nobody can ever say they haven't had money to spend. Again, in case you weren't with us earlier, since 2019, Manchester United have spent 1.09 billion Great British pounds, only recouping 285 million, and are the biggest spenders net of all the clubs in the Premier League since 2019, with 810 million pound after sales invested into that squad. They should be a case study of how to piss money up against the wall, because that is some of the worst player recruitment I've seen in the history of football. It's been shocking. Chelsea then have gone a very different approach, have made loads of changes and have brought in a good bit of money, but they've spent 1.6 billion Great British pounds, recouping 863 million and spending 739. Liverpool have a net spend of 212 million pound since 2019. 2020, 2021, 22, 23, 24, and half of this. 5.5 years, and we've averaged less, £38 million a season. net for one of the biggest sports clubs in the history of sport, one of the most valuable franchises in sport, a club that are bringing in money to beat the band, boasting about new sponsorship opportunities, Champions League money. And we've spent less than Forest, Villa, West Ham, Newcastle, Arsenal, City, Spurs, Chelsea and United. And yet these journalists don't think that we have a point. I mean, how can you defend that? It's crazy. What's this one that Mark sent me on? So, this from Football Insider. Liverpool have been told that a £60 million offer for Xavi Simons would likely be accepted by Leipzig. Manchester City are also eyeing the midfielder as a long-term replacement for Kevin De Bruyne. I'm not convinced on Xavi Simons yet. But, you know, maybe the Dutch connection there with Arne is one that could, you know, improve him. But I wouldn't be rushing out personally to spend it. Craig, you undervalue yourself. You're a star. I'm not, dude. I'm just a normal fella who just happens to not have much of a filter. I like Cunha the player, but he is very violent. Oh, don't be saying that. You'll make me like him more. I was impressed with Cunha today. I was impressed with his all-round work rate for Wolves, and his finish was brilliant as well. With his, I think, his poorer foot. So, we asked you guys a while ago, and do please keep voting if you want to. Who do you think we sign in the summer? And I put 4 options up. Sesko, Isak, Jonathan David, or Matheus Cunha. And we'll leave that running a little bit longer. Harry said, Craig, do you think that Endo should get a Premier League start to rest Gravenberch or play alongside him? No. What I would rather do, if I'm being honest, is play Maka in that position and play Jones and Szoboszlai ahead. Yeah. But look, if we played with Toro Endo, I'm not going to argue about it either, because, you know, he's an honest, hard-working pro who never complains, just goes out there and gets on with it, shows up for the team when called upon, trains like a model pro, acts like a model pro, and is a very lovable, likeable guy. But in this system, I just don't think he can do what Ryan Gravenberch can do in the way that we play it. So I think we'd have to change quite a bit. Question, Craig. I'm confused why you wouldn't take Gyökeres. Is it Darwin PTSD? Don't forget Gyökeres has already played in the Championship. No, I think there's a couple of things about it, Christopher, for me. You've got his age. I think, what is he, 26 now? 27, maybe, I don't know. You've got the fact that, yeah, he played in the Championship, but, you know, it's a long way from the Championship to trying to win the Champions League. And yeah, it is a little bit of Darwin PTSD. I think that's fair as well, to say that, you know, you're bringing in somebody from a league where we've already brought in a high scorer from that league and it hasn't worked. And I just don't think he's the right fit for us. I think if I was United, I'd be doing everything to try and sign him, because he's clearly somebody that Ruben Amorim knows can do the job he wants through the middle there. I just don't think he'd be a good fit. You know, there's just been something about him. I remember even speaking with David Lynch about this when David was doing some videos with us, and if anything, he convinced me even more that it probably wouldn't be the right fit. Honestly, there's just something that just makes me feel like, don't do that again. Because we tried that, like, we've gone to the Portuguese league and brought in a player who was scoring a half full of goals there, and it hasn't worked. Suleiman D said, if FSG spent a little more, we could have a bit more silverware. And that's it for me. Like, to simplify my take on the owners, I can't change the Super League stuff. None of us can. That's been and gone. But if they just spent a bit more, 100 million, 200 million, 300 million, 400 million, 500 million, 600 million, 700 million, 800 million, 900 million, 1000 million, 2000 million, 3000 million, 4000 million, 5000 million, 6000 million, 7000 million, 8000 million, 900000 million, 100 million, 200 million, 300 million, 400 million, 500 million, 600 million, 700 million, 800 million, 900 million, 1000 million, 2000 million, 3000 million, 4000 million, 5000 million, 6000 million, 700000 million, 8000 million, 900000 million, 100 million, 200 million, 300 million, 400 million, 500 million, 600 million, 700 million, 800 million, 900 million, 1000 million, 2000 million, 3000 million, 4000 million, 5000 million, 6000 million, 700000 million, 8000 And if they stop putting us in these stupid situations like we're in now with Virgil, Mo and Trent, you wouldn't be hearing me mentioning them. I don't have any personal gripe with John W. Henry or Tom Werner, but I do feel like they're taking the piss. And I feel like if you own Liverpool Football Club, you should look at every which way to make that successful. You should live and breathe it. You should wake up in the morning wanting that team to be successful. And I just don't think they are that way as owners. I think they got a distressed or an undervalued asset at a good price and knew that they could add value. And to their credit, they have a lot of value. But they haven't backed up that increased value with spending. And even if we were to look back at Arne Slot, right, and the recruitment process in the summer, there were plenty of articles written to suggest that one of the reasons why we looked at Arne Slot and why he scored so highly was because he overachieved. And I would look at that and go, wow, so he overachieved in the Netherlands with a smaller budget than PSV Eindhoven and Ajax. I would say, okay, well, if he's overachieving, imagine what he could do with some proper backing. That's my thought process on it. If the guy's overachieving, bring him to a club like Liverpool with the financial power that we have. And wow, this guy should absolutely run away with it. And they didn't even do that. They've brought him in and done nothing for him. Arne padded Wolves out Newry on the way off the pitch. He's a good player, and I feel like he will probably leave Wolves this summer. Don't know where he goes, to be fair, but he's a good player out Newry. Can I ask you guys something about today's game? The Trent and Bradley debate. Who do you think had the better game today? Bradley when he came on in that shorter spell of time, or Trent when he was on the pitch? Genuinely intrigued by this one because I thought both of them had some good one-on-one defending. I thought Bradley looked a little bit more physical for me out there. And the reason I'm asking is I guess I'm thinking ahead to Aston Villa, and this is where I'm at. I'd go with Trent for Aston Villa, but if he puts in a shift that is anything less than a good solid 7 or 8 out of 10, I think you then have to start being concerned about why. Is it the contract situation? Is it a distraction with Madrid? Is he carrying a knock? Is he just in bad form? But I feel like I would roll through and go with Trent again for that game against Villa. But I want to see something from him. I want to see the Trent we know is there. You know, one that can impact the game, can make those ridiculous passes. I just want to see more from him because what we're seeing from Trent, it feels like he's playing within himself. I'll go through your comments in one sec. Bear with me. I just got to get this one up. Farron Davies, thank you, bro. Said, I don't know why. I'm probably just mad, but I thought the idea of Vlahovic and Liverpool shirt just fits. Can't see us spending big money. The only real Premier League club I remember him being linked with was Arsenal. But, you know, I haven't followed Vlahovic for the past 18 months, to be honest. So I have no idea what type of form he's in even. Who best fits the profile of a slot number 9 in the market, said Paolo. That's a really good question. I think Isak or Cunha are probably the answers. Isak almost looks like the complete centre forward now that can do it all. Good aerially, good between the lines, pace. But, you know, that whole idea of Cunha maybe being a Bobby Firmino regen, I can see it a little bit as well. So they'd be the two for me, but I would say to you, Paolo, mate, there's probably players out there as well that I just haven't got an eye on and couldn't give you a fair take on. So it's a good question though, and is one I'd love to put to the chat as well. So Paolo's question, I'll bring it back up. Who best fits the profile of an Arne slot number 9 in the market? So chat with regards to Trent and Bradley. Bradley, Trent, Bradley, both Bradley. Bradley was better. Bradley. I think there's a good few Trents in there, but I think Bradley's probably the most answered there. So Why do you guys think maybe then we're not seeing the Trent we know that he's capable of being? Do you think maybe he is carrying something that's stopping him from being able to really get in full flow? Or do you think it's just a temporary form thing? Or do you think it's a contract distraction? Because I'm sure it can't be easy on Trent as well, having the media spotlight on him about it all the time. I'm sure it's not a pleasant experience being under that much scrutiny all the time. Craig, my wife friend Karen has got a crush on you, my friend. Cool. Thank you. We won't tell my missus that, but thank you. She's not a journalist, is she? Because they don't like me very much these days, apparently. How about the potential of Evan Ferguson? Well, I'm looking to see how he gets on with West Ham for the remainder of the season. That's an interesting move there on loan. And I'm intrigued, as obviously as an Irishman as well, to see how Evan gets on. Mario reckons he's got one eye on Madrid. So I go back and forth between wondering, is Trent delaying because he's hoping for a better offer from Liverpool because that's really where his heart is? And then I go back and forth and go, or is he stringing us along and wants to go to Madrid? And I don't know the answer. I hope the answer is the first one, that he wants to stay, but it's an offer that's just not acceptable to him or his representatives. But I guess we're going to find out at some point. So let's ask that question then. For the last poll of the night, let's ask that one. We need 60 more votes, by the way, to get us up to 1,000, and then we can end the striker poll. So if you haven't voted, please do jump in and vote away. And also, if you haven't hit the like button and you are enjoying the stream, please do as well. And I've got to apologise to you guys as well about the little journalist rant at the start of the stream, because I had no intention today of speaking about journalists at all until Dominic King, felt the need to have a little thread in response to our clip for Friday with his little don't think you're going to say that and not get a reply. Again, I apologise that I brought that into the stream, but I'm not on social, so that's the only way I guess I can respond to these things. But I do apologise if it was an unenjoyable watch. Why haven't you signed Salah up yet? Baffling. So here's the thing with me on all the contracts. Even if the club aren't going to renew them, I just want to know what's happening. So of course we want the lads to stay. Of course we do. But if they aren't, and if these are final and best offers, there needs to be a deadline for various reasons. For the players and their families to know what they're doing. For the club to know what way the transfer window has to go. And I know that the club will have plans A, B, C and D, but clarity on this situation is what we need. What I would hate to happen is, let's say we won the league, right? And we win the league and we have the end of the season, and then we find out one of the lads are leaving and we don't get to say goodbye. That would be horrible. All of them, no matter what happens, if they're going to go, deserve a goodbye. And a proper goodbye. So, like with Jurgen, if someone's going to move on, I'd rather know, and then we can make the most out of the time we have left with them, and of course look to the future as well. Ben said that rant was understandable. Their arrogance, mate, winds me up, because they're very quick to undermine the rest of us and jump on. And make no mistake about it, they despise all the aggregate accounts. And I know this from talking to them. Because they think that they're either taken out of context or taking the highlights away from their pieces. But I look at it differently. I think that all these aggregator accounts are doing these journalists a huge favour by keeping their work relevant. And I think they should be grateful to the accounts for sharing them, because the amount of people that don't know about certain journalists' work or whatever until they see these. I don't think it can be forgotten about. But the whole situation with David Lynch, to me, put a line in the sand where I decided I'm not going to try and win journalists over anymore, because they've no intention of being won over, and they've no intention of saying that nice about us, our channel, me, or my community. So the gloves are off. And right now I feel like it's fan content, standing our ground against them, and that's the way I see it. And if, they don't like it, tough, be better. So, the poll. Isak is the winner by a landslide. 60% of the 1,000 plus votes said that Isak is the one that they would like to, or they think would come through the door in the summer. I mean, that would be an incredible bit of business. Hey Craig, why are Arsenal playing Sunday and us Thursday? Arsenal don't play midweek. Do you mean Thursday, Sunday, and we played Wednesday? I'm trying to remember this week with Arsenal. So they played 12:30 Saturday kickoff against Leicester. We play midweek and they don't, because our Aston Villa game was supposed to take place the weekend of the League Cup final, and obviously we're playing Newcastle then, so there had to be a space to find this. But you know what? I like it, Benjamin, because if we can win on Wednesday, and it's going to be difficult at Villa Park, but if we can win, then we've gone from having a game in hand to playing a game more, and we'd have opened up the 10-point gap, albeit Arsenal would have a game in hand. So psychologically, it's also one step closer to the end of the season for us, and one less opportunity for Arsenal to catch up. So I think every single time now we pick up 3 points, it is one more step towards that trophy and one less opportunity for Arsenal to close the gap. So, on Trent, I'm going to ask this question 1 second. Right, so, quick question. What do you think happens with Trent? 3 options. He stays, he leaves, unsure. I kind of want to get it, because I've seen a lot of comments in the chat that were saying one specific thing, and I wanted to see if that was felt across the 1,400 people or so that are in the chat. Do you think the league is wrapped up before Liverpool play Arsenal again? Unsure. But from my mind, if we get through these next 3 games with 7 points, I think that's it then. Because this is the tough run for us right now. Between now and the international break, it's tough for us, and if we can, we've got part 1 done today with the win against Wolves, albeit we made hard work of it in the end. And then there's 2 difficult games this week, 4 points from those 2 games, and then hopefully a win against Newcastle, and I am absolutely convinced then it's done. Do you think City are going to challenge next season for the title? Yeah, I mean, it's a very good question. The reason I'm going to say unsure is because of the Club World Cup. If they didn't have the Club World Cup, I would think Guardiola will certainly get them much better and more consistent than we've seen them this season. They'll have Rodri back at that point as well, although, you don't know exactly what level he gets back to and how long it might take him to get to his best, because at his best he was a deserving winner of that Ballon d'Or. I think that Club World Cup coming up at the end of the season might cause a lot of headaches for Chelsea and Arsenal. Or excuse me, Chelsea and Man City. Because that's, June, July, very little break then for players, and a season coming quick with loads of games in it. So, it'll be interesting to see how much that impacts teams because it's an unknown for us, right? This is the first time it's happening. So I've no idea how to gauge what impact it might have on the likes of City or Chelsea. I'm hoping, though, that we don't have to have that conversation because they've been hit with so many points deductions that they're nowhere near it. A little bit here on Joel Haddo from, again, a source in Spain, Ficaje, say Real Madrid are prepared to pay €40 million for Haddo, viewing the teenager as the future of their defence. Although, the other day, Saliba was the future of their defence, and the other day before that, Dean Huijsen was the future of their defence, and, you know, it's hard to know what the hell to believe anymore. Arna Slot had something nice to say about Jarell Quansah as well, by the way, which I think is great. He said, I see in training sessions he's back to being the same Jarell that we've seen in pre-season. He's shown now that he's back to his old level. You can see how important he is. And I have to say, I thought he was really, really good today when he came on for Ibrahima Konate, and absolutely looked like he belonged out there. No doubt about that. He certainly looked like he had more confidence today. And we're going to need him. You know, we're going to need him because we've got 3 centre-backs now between now and the end of the season. And, you know, if the manager feels that he can rotate one of them in, that's going to help out a lot. Red Gamer said, do you think we win on Wednesday? Yes, I do. I think it won't be easy. I think it won't be a one-sided win, but I think we'll scrape it again. Probably a similar score to the win today. You know, Villa didn't have the greatest performance in the world against Ipswich. They have a lot of games. I think Unai Emery said 5 in 14 days or something. So yeah, look, I think they're going to be up for it. I think it's not going to be easy, but a narrow win, I think. Paolo said, who is our preferred defender move? Huijsen, Kirkes or somebody else? I think both of those could be realistic shouts. You know, one as a centre-back, one as a left-back. I think 50 million release clause, I think, in Huijsen's contract, or at least maybe I'm wrong on that and it was 50 million mentioned as a figure. Kirkes, I think Kirkes, Haddo, Aitnuri, Huijsen, all realistic alternatives in that centre back / left back area, but certainly feel like they're more realistic than the kid from Girona. The Villa fan, how are you, mate? Said, Craig, good luck on Wednesday. I'm not expecting a win as this is your year. We look more focused on the cup than the league, but don't underestimate in the bigger games. I'm not, mate, and I've got nothing but respect for your club and for your coach. And I think Villa at their best are a very, very, very difficult team to beat. So, you know, I'm really not expecting an easy evening at all. And I'll take a scrappy 1-goal win if we can come out of there with 3 points. I think it'll be big for us in the season. And yes, Stefan Bajcetic scored today as well for Las Palmas. So, well done, Stefan. Good to see him getting on the score sheet over there in Spain. It's better to face Villa with Rashford than Duran, said TB. There you go. Do you know what? I probably agree with that. I'd certainly be more concerned with John Duran on the pitch than Marcus Rashford, but Rashford has the capability to pull a worldie out, though. I mean, that free kick he struck against the bar that Ollie Watkins followed up and scored in was a good free kick. Do you think Ben Doak plays next year? After speaking with some journalists a while back, they believed when I spoke to them that there wasn't a future for Doak at Liverpool. I don't know if that's the case or not. I don't know is the honest answer on Ben Doak. I don't know. Is he going to be another player who floats around on a few loans and eventually gets sold somewhere? Unsure. But I know he's an exciting young player and he has something about him. I just don't know if we'll ever get to see that at Liverpool or not. John said, I'm going to say it again. I'm blaming FSG if we slip up and don't win anything. But I'm like 90 to 95%, John, that we win the league. I think the League Cup final against Newcastle is going to be a really tough game. You know, it's going to be an emotionally charged game for them and their fans. 70 years without a major trophy. Obviously had some heartache in finals as well. So yeah, I don't think that's going to be an easy final by any stretch. I think it's a coin toss of a game. Bendo could suit Celtic. Well, that's where he came from. Right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to say goodnight. And I'm going to go record the news video for the morning. But, again, thank you all so much for joining me this evening. Appreciate your support as always. If you can help me out by hitting the like button before you head off, be greatly appreciated. Yes, appreciate you all. I just realised I forgot to play the ad from Surfshark. Whoopsies, I'm going to have to do that again on another day. Apologies, Surfshark, my bad. So yeah, much love. Poll results, thank you. Yes, I would have forgotten about that. Right, so on the quick poll that we did, what do you think happens with Trent? 62% feel that he leaves. And that's even allowing for unsure, by the way. So the full results will come up on the screen in a second. So 62% of people feel he leaves, 19% are unsure, and 18% said he stays. I'm definitely in the unsure category on it. Yeah, so that's where I'd be on it anyway, unsure. Heavy or Suleiman D. So sorry, I was going to heavy metal. I seen D and I thought it was heavy metal D. Do you think VVD and Mo already have a deal, but they're not saying anything to avoid putting pressure on Trent? I just don't see the benefit of that. I know Robbie Fowler mentioned it previously, and you know who knows, but I just don't see the good of that. Why not put pressure on Trent? It's like, why is that a bad thing? For me, if they've agreed a deal and they're not talking about it for Trent, I don't see the point of that. But, you know, I'm just giving you my thoughts there on it. I'd hate to think that the contracts have been done and we haven't got to celebrate them. But, I don't know. I'd love if they were agreed already. Look, so, as I mentioned, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Much